Welcome everyone, Crazy here. Today we have a very big Dead by Daylight news video. Dead by Daylight just did their yearly anniversary stream and they revealed a ton of information for this whole next year of content. And we also just got the brand new PTB for the Dungeons & Dragons chapter. You can see gameplay of that right now. This PTB is playable for PC players currently, and the full release will be on June 3rd. Included in the Dungeons & Dragons chapter is a brand new killer, Vecna, also known as the Lich, and his power is actually many powers in one. When you hold down the ability button, you get a list of different spells that you can choose from. One of these spells is Mage Hand. This hand can either hold a pallet in place so that it can't be dropped, or you can use it to pick up a pallet so you can therefore move through it and catch up to the survivor. We also have Flight of the Damned. This sends out 5 different flying skeletons, and if they hit the survivor, it will injure them. We also have the Dispelling Sphere. This is a sphere that you can send out wherever you're aiming, and if it comes into contact with the survivor, it will temporarily disable their magic items, which I will get into later. We also have Fly, which basically does exactly what it sounds like. You lift a little bit off of the ground, you can go over pallets and go through windows, and you just fly super fast in whatever direction you are aiming in. It's really nice. The main gimmick with Vecna is when you spawn in with him, the survivors will actually have the option to find these treasure chests throughout the map, and when they interact with them, a dice roll happens, and depending on the number that they will get a number of different items depending on what that is. If you get a low roll, you could not get anything, or you can get a basic common item like a toolbox. If you roll on the higher end, there's a new set of items that are boots and gauntlets. When you pick these up, it will give you a number of different stat bonuses that make Vecna's powers less powerful. The boots and gauntlets are actually their own thing, and they don't replace any of your existing items or special items or anything like that. This is where the Dispelling Sphere comes into play. Basically, Vecna can shoot this at you, and those stat bonuses for the gauntlets and boots will no longer apply for a short amount of time. Also, if you roll a 20 on the chest, you can get the Eye of Vecna or Vecna's Hand. This item, once used, will allow you to go into a locker and then teleport to the locker furthest from that one. This is a really easy way to escape chases. Because of time, I won't be going over all of the perks, but feel free to pause the video here if you want an in-depth look at everything. Moving on next to the brand new survivor for the Dungeons & Dragons chapter, we have a elf bard. What's interesting about this character is, as you can see on screen here, you can actually change between 2 different characters by changing their cosmetics. This is kind of similar to how the Unknown and Legion works, but this is our first time seeing this for a survivor. It's kind of cool because you will be able to actually customize this character, and there will seemingly be a lot of cosmetic options for that once it releases. I won't be going over the survivor perks either because of time restraints, but I do want to mention that there is a perk that allows you to play an instrument, and it does a dice roll, and depending on the roll you get, it has a number of different buffs. I just thought this was a really cool and interesting perk, and is very different from a lot of the perks we have in game. And before we move on from Dungeons & Dragons, I just want to mention there is also a brand new map, as you have been seeing in the background, and it is very cool. It is obviously a dungeon. It includes a new feature called Passages that lets you teleport from different points across the map when you go through them. Also, there's many Easter eggs within the dungeon itself, such as this beholder that you can see behind a cage, which is really cool to see. In my opinion, this map is a welcome addition, especially with the passages. I think it allows for a lot of different gameplay, especially during chases. Anyways, that's it for the Dungeons & Dragons overview. I will continue to show gameplay of that in the background if you want to see more of it. I now want to move on to the Castlevania chapter, which was talked about during the dev stream. Because if you didn't know, we actually already knew both of these were coming because of the Gumpy leaks. So yeah, basically they said we will learn more on August 6th about this Castlevania chapter. And if we pull up the roadmap right here, we see that the chapter we have in August says we're getting a new killer and a new survivor. Seemingly no new map, which is a interesting choice because Dracula's castle would be perfect for that. Either way, I am still very excited for this. I do want to actually go back on this roadmap, and we see here that in July, before the Castlevania chapter, we are actually getting a new licensed survivor. I'm not too sure what this will be, and I definitely will be making a video about some possibilities for that. Moving forward in December, we are getting an original chapter, and then in March, we are getting a licensed chapter yet again, this time being a solo killer chapter. And then lastly, in April, we are getting a solo survivor chapter that will not be licensed. Like I said, I will definitely be doing a video about my predictions for these because this is very exciting to see so many licensed chapters back to back. Also included on this roadmap is a brand new game mode in July. Usually we get game modifiers and not game modes, meaning this is actually going to be a more substantial change to the game. This will be a 2v8 mode, and it sadly at the moment will be limited time, but they did mention during the dev stream they do want to bring this back and add more onto it, and it sounds like they were considering the possibility of eventually making it permanent. At the moment, it's pretty limited to be honest. There is only the 5 first original killers, including Nurse, and then for the survivors, there is only a handful that they choose from. Also, for the maps, they do have to make them tailored for this game mode, so there is only going to be 5 at the moment. You won't be using perks in this game mode, and there instead will be classes that you choose from on the survivor side, and there will also not be any hooks, and instead there's going to be a system rather similar to how the Cages of Atonement work for Pyramid Head. For balancing, there will be an increased amount of generators, chests, and hatches, as well as exit gates. I am super excited for this game mode because we can finally play killer with other people. However, at the moment, it does seem very limited. I know they did say that they do want to add on to it in the future, but I really hope it eventually becomes a permanent mode and also has a bigger number of characters to choose from so that it's more like normal Dead by Daylight, but just 2v8. Of course, I do understand the changes like having to do specific maps and specific balancing, but in terms of the characters, I think that's something that could definitely be worked on. In other news, we're finally getting cross progression in Dead by Daylight. This will be on PC and consoles. At the moment, the target date is sometime in summer, and we don't have much more information besides that. They said they will be releasing a FAQ pretty soon here, and once that comes out, I will be sure to make a video breaking down the full FAQ. I for one am super excited to finally get all my progress synced together between platforms, and I'm hoping that mostly everything carries over. And moving on next, I have some information about the Twisted Masquerade Anniversary event. This will be releasing on June 13th, and this time around it will actually be a separate queue from the regular matches, which is the first time we've seen this. One of the new features for this event is the Mad Designer. This is actually in the lore the person that made a lot of the masquerade outfits, and she will basically show up during this event and play these tricks, which will have different buffs and debuffs. As for the cosmetics, we of course are getting a whole bunch of new masks. What's very interesting is David Tapp, a licensed survivor, is actually getting a mask this time around, which is super exciting. And on the topic of Saw, we are actually getting a masquerade pigskin, which is super cool to see. And also joining the masquerade, we have Bill Overbeck, which is super exciting to see, and also the Unknown as well. It's also worth mentioning that before the masquerade event, we have 3 weeks of basically weekly login rewards. As you can see, for the first week, which just started today and lasts all the way up until May 20th, we have these new recolors that you will be awarded if you log in anywhere between that time frame. There will also be a number of different outfit sales and blood point rewards as well, but what's most exciting, we will be getting a blood feast times 3. So 3 times blood points. That is going to be really cool, and it's going to be a great opportunity to get blood points for this brand new chapter. Here we have the week 2 rewards. This will start on May 21st and end on May 27th, so keep that in mind. This time around, it will be ×3 rift fragments and not blood points. And then lastly, for week 3, we actually have triple XP this time around, and this will be on May 28th and end on June 3rd. Some extra information is that finisher Moris are actually going to be finally coming into the game. How this will work is it will be base kit for all killers, and it will only be accessible on the last survivor. Because of this, Mori offerings will now give bonus blood points. They also said in the dev stream there's going to be a new type of challenge. These you won't have to actively select and work towards, and instead will just unlock them passively in the background. And moving on to the last segment of this video, they talked about a lot of upcoming Dead by Daylight games that are actually separate from the core Dead by Daylight game. First of all, we have some new information about the casting of Frank Stone because we just got a trailer that shows some gameplay. I'm not going to be going over all of it here, but there are some interesting tidbits from here. We get to see a lot of the characters that seem to be playable, and also it seems that the movie theory that a lot of people had did in fact turn out to be true because they have a lot of references to filming a movie in the trailer. Another game that was talked about is IntoTheFog. This actually released today and is playable right now. Not only that, if you check the link in the description, there is a chance that if you sign up for a behavior account or log into your behavior account, you can actually get it for free. I was able to, but this was a couple hours ago from the posting of this video, so hopefully there is still some codes left for you guys. To break it down pretty quickly here, this is basically a 2-player co-op, horde-based hack and slash game with a kind of cutesy aesthetic. I haven't gotten the chance to play it yet, but I definitely will be doing that soon. And the last game that was talked about during this dev stream is the one we've been hearing kind of whispers about, and it's the unnamed Dead by Daylight co-op game. At the moment, it's just called Project T because there is no name for it. And you can see some gameplay of it here, and you might think it looks unfinished, and that's because it is. They explained during the dev stream that this is a super early development progress of the game, and we are going to basically see this game being made. They said we'll be hearing some more news about it in the coming weeks, and they want to hear people's feedback about features to add and what they would like to see in this game. Because of this, there might be some features that will be removed or changed or added, so this game is definitely in a very early state right now. The general idea of the game is it's a co-op game where you have to fight off an enemy called the Thrall in a faraway part of the entity's realm. In the gameplay, you can see that they're using cars, but they explain that they're not sure of the full functionality of this yet, and they're still considering how this will work. And of course, we also see a lot of different enemy types, some of them seeming to be bigger enemies that might be kind of like mini bosses. Do keep in mind that this is super early in the development cycle of this game, and it's still kind of getting its footing, so we don't really know what the finished product is going to look like quite yet, and it definitely is going to look rough at its beginning stages. I am hopeful that this game will eventually look very interesting and be a fun game to play in between Dead by Daylight matches, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, that's it for today's video. It is definitely a longer one today. I hope you all enjoyed all this content. If you liked the video, a like and a subscribe would be super helpful, and as always, stay safe in the fog, everybody.